Hello, welcome to Scrap Time. My name's Christine, and in this video I'm going to be showing you my craft space. Now, as you can see, it's not a big space. So my video is about to show you how you can get the most out of a small space and tips for people that do have smaller spaces but still enjoy crafting. So come along and I'll give you a tour of all the spaces where I've hidden all my goodies. So I'm starting in the corner. This is a Billy bookcase that I got from IKEA. I've had this forever. And these bookcases are great to hold a lot of your products. So these are my stamps, Stampers Anonymous stamps. I have put some of them in these envelopes. This isn't how you're supposed to use the envelope, but I've cut off my stamp set to shove it in here because I wanted it to be able to put it into something in case stamps fall off. But so I just did that. But I don't want them in binders because I'm a person that likes to flip through. So I can flip through when I'm looking for a specific stamp here on my shelf. Then I have a couple containers that I have put my brushes in. And so again, it's easy for me to see the brushes and I can just come over, pull out what I want. And then when I clean them, it's quick to put them back. Next shelf down, I have all my distress inks. I showed you in the previous video how I stored my distress inks. I've saved room for 2 more since new colors are coming, so I have space for new dyes and oxides. I have a few more stamps here and then my stamping platform. Down here, I have put all my Liquitex and golden paints. I separated them into blue, green, purple, and red, orange, yellow, pinks in 2 different things. So if I want to use the Liquitex paints, I can just pull it out, bring it over, pick my colors. And beside it, I have my splat box and a little working mat here. And then down here on the bottom is all my tinned mediums. So I have my markers, crayons, alcohol inks, pastels, pencils, scribble sticks, any medium that I have it in a tin, because this way I'm able to stack it, but it doesn't look messy in that. Everything's contained within a tin. So I've put all those mediums together on the shelf. So this is one of the only bookcases really that is exposed. So anything that was exposed, I needed it to look neat and tidy since this was our main room. This is our living room, dining room, and my craft space. So I didn't want things to look thrown on and messy. Everything needed to have a space that was being exposed. So now I'm moving on to my cubes, and this too is from IKEA. And down here I have my trimmer, so I've made myself a little place that just slides in and out. And then in this first drawer, I have stuff for card making, my 6x6 paper pads. And then I have this box here. These are old CD boxes, also from IKEA. And I have envelopes in there and card fronts and watercolor paper in that. So this next drawer, I have this box is full of adhesives, all my backup adhesives. And then this box is for, I was doing some resin pours and making little containers. So it's all my resin stuff, alcohol, the little tool for using with markers. So you can see by putting things in boxes, it's easy to pull out and access what you need. So here I have my book. So in this binder, and this binder, and this binder are all my stencils. So previously this week I had posted how I organize my stencils, and I changed it over to these binders. I have my journals here. I have some magazines and inspiration books in that as well. Here I put my current journal there. You can see how wide it is, so it didn't really fit in my bookcase, so I've just put it on top here. This little ephemera box has backgrounds in that I was working on, so I threw them in there. And then here's one of those containers that I showed you also this week from a previous video with my ephemera and different papers. And I've been using this a lot And it's great because I can just pull this out, take it to my table, and then go work on a project and then easily put it back. Now, I have 2 of these. You'll see the other one a bit later in the video. But my hope was to stack them, but they ended up just being a little bit too big. I even took off the plastic parts and I just could not get them stacked. They were just almost like the feet that come on it. If they had been taken off, it would work. So if you were hoping to get 2 and stack them within a cube, it doesn't work, but they do fit perfectly from side to side. So you can put it in your cube, and then I just put something else on top of it. Moving right along. Up here I have a couple cups, and I've just put pens and pencils in there. And then here's a little frame I had shown you in a previous video, and then I can just put different little bits of artwork on there to display. And then I also have my die cutting machine sits nicely on top of this shelving unit. So in here I have my little mini die cutting machine, and then these are other paints, some backup paints and mediums that I have. Those are my like watercolor brush markers and that. So things I don't use often, but I still want to have on hand. Down here is the rest of my papers. So all my 8.5 by 11 paper, my specialty papers, cardstock, my books of paper. So any other paper I had. The other one is my like card making papers, and then this is all my other paper. In here is everything for foiling. So lots of foil and flock and stuff. So I have a lot of different foils and different things for specialty papers for foiling. That's my foiling drawer. This one, it's pretty more like I have my tarot cards, just some tags and a couple of punches I have left. I only have 2 punches left in my collection. So in here, this is my foam stamp, so I can pull it out whenever I need foam stamps. Here is some backup gessos and brushes and pipettes. And I think this one here is my backup gel mediums and pastes and stuff. So I have some on my cart, which I'll be showing you, and these are sort of the ones I don't use often, or they're extra. So we're going to go to this here. So this was a unit I bought a long time ago at Pottery Barn, and then I had put washi tape all over it just to decorate it, and I recently reorganized it. Up top here I have little things like my color pour colors and some little glossy accents, a few re-inkers and stuff. Then down here I have a lot of my paints. And here I've added my Liquitex inks. And as I turn it, I've got sprays, I've got my Nuvo dots. And so even though it's not on a turning thing, I can easily turn it to find what I want. I have all of Dina's paints down here. And so this is items that I like to pull out regularly. I use Dina's paints a lot, so I like to have those on hand. And just the paints and stuff, so I can come over, I can pull the colors I want, and then when I'm done, I can put them back. So it's out, but it's organized, because I don't want a lot of clutter sitting out. But by putting it in here, everything has a space. I can easily access it and then put it away. So we'll go back down here. This is just a little box I have where I put things I want to use for future videos. Here I have my aprons, and again, this is almost a catch-all. I have my Happy Jake here. I have some traveler's journals, and these are extra stamp organizers and stuff. Here are some of my embossing paste or embossing powders, crystals, and glitters. And here's my washi tape. And I just want to say this is all my washi tape. I have purged all my washi tape. And I'm going to talk about purging soon. But just keep what you like or what you use. So here is that other unit that I showed you earlier this week. And it stores like my ink pads and stuff. And then here I have all my mini distress inks. So they're at my hand, easy to get at. And this is a bunch of cards and backgrounds and stuff. And then I have my printer here. And then in the corner is where I keep my media mat and my craft mats and an easel and just a few things that can stand up there. So now I'm going to show you my cart. So here's my cart. I got it from IKEA again. However, now you can buy these carts at Michael's. We Are Memory Keepers sell them. So they're more readily available. And a lot of the little add-ons, you can probably mix and match with the different brands. So I'm going to start over here. So my little cup things I got from IKEA. But I think in Michael's and We Are does have something that hooks on. So I recently redid my cart. So here I have some markers and paint pens and stuff that I use. So it's handy. I have my brayers. And so I showed you earlier this week how I redid my dies in these containers. So now I can easily just flip through and see which die I want to use, which set. And some of the bigger ones I just have in baggies on the side. Like I have some borders and stuff. So on the card I was able just to shove them in on the side. And then I have my stamps. And so I have a lot of background stamps that I don't like to put them in packages because I like to just flip through and pull out the stamps I want to use. So by putting them in these little containers, I'm able to just see my stamps flip through. And then I have some stamp sets here that I can see what I want. Now, other than the stamps I showed you earlier, this is all my stamps. I have a few sets just down below in there. But when you're thinking about your stamps, think about which stamps you use. You don't need to keep every single stamp set you own. So just think about that. I'm going to talk about purging at the end of the video. I have a few wooden stamps I shoved in here. And a couple little these type of stamps. And then this is just, I think, yeah, some backup distress medium and stuff I put in there. Here I have some different tools, my palette knife, a spritzer, paint, water, pen things, some for die cutting. And then again, I use this for embossing powders to clean up. I have some bigger brushes and my little hurricane blower or whatever Tim actually called it. It's a hurricane blower though. So that's the top. So then down below, I have my gesso handy. These are all pastes or molding paste, gel, texture paste, stuff like that. So everything from my glitters. Oh, I have some black gesso there. I have clear molding paste, black, shimmery. These are my metallic ones. So this is mainly pastes. I have my little blending brushes here and some texture tools. And then down here I have liquid watercolor paints, my distress reinkers. These are watercolor paints, some brushes, and then how I mentioned I had some of the word sets, stamp sentiment stamp sets, and then a little jar of buttons. And the one other thing, I'm going to turn it. This I did get from We Are Memory Keepers. So in here, it just hangs on the back. I'm able to put my scissors so I can just pull them out, put them in. My rulers, my little station from Wendy, and my embossing heat tool with another ruler. That ruler should probably be up there. And you could also see, I'm going to turn it back around, I had hung my heat tool here on a little hook, and that sort of just goes along. So everything here, it looks nice. It's put nicely together, but it's all very handy, and I can pull out what I want to use, and then easily after I finish using it, I can put it away. Because when you're working in a small space, for me personally, I always need to be able to put away my things without the hassle of putting away things. So you can see I just put my little cart beside my table, and then I can pull it out or I can walk between there, whatever I need to do when I want to get stuff there. On the table, I keep my craft spinner, and this is all stuff that I want to use regularly. So right now it's the current product, so we have like gloss sprays and distress glazes, but as new products come out, some of these will probably get put into other areas, and I'll replace it. These are products that are probably the newer that I want to just use more on a regular basis, but I do have like my little spritz bottles hanging off it and stuff. And then this little thing I had received as a gift with purchase from scrapbook.com, and they had recommended putting your Nouveau things there, but that's not how I work. But I found out that, so my paint that's low, I put it in here, so now all that paint is falling to the bottom. Or I put my dabber in here because Tim had suggested if you store it upside down, it's easier to use. The Stickles was getting low, so even though it doesn't really fit there, I just put it in there. And my Collage medium's low, so I put it there so it's at the bottom. So I use this more for bottles that are starting to get low, just to store them upside down. And I have it handy on my table, and then I just work here with my craft mats that I showed you before. I put them on, and I have some items on hand, and I can get up and grab some other items. So I have 5 tips to share with you for organizing your craft room. The first one is be true to yourself. Like, I've been crafting, I started crafting in 2004, and I started Scrap Time in 2007. So I've been crafting for a long time, and the things I have done have really changed over the years. I started with scrapbooking, I did lots of memory keeping, card making, moved into mixed media. And I know for me, I do not like coloring. So any stamps that I had that were coloring, I got rid of. I got rid of all my Copics. I got rid of all my pan pastels. Anything that I found, even though they are expensive, it's like I don't use them and I don't want them weighing down in my space. I have very limited space. So it's a very hard thing to do, but you have to be true to yourself as to what do you like to do, and just keep those products that you want to use. Like, I even got rid of my distress paints because I prefer to use a heavy body paint. So that's my first big tip, is be true to yourself. Don't go with the trends, go with what you really like to use. My second tip is you don't have to buy every product in every single color. For example, the distress glazes came out and the gloss paints came out, and I looked at the 12 colors and I picked 6 that I liked. I know that I'm not going to use that product in that color, so I'm not going to buy it. It will save you money and it will save you space. So when new products come out, you get very excited, but think about the color. Maybe wait to see how other people use that color if you're not too sure about the color, and then you can decide, is that the aesthetic you'd use in your artwork? So don't just automatically buy every product in every color. My number 3 is find a system that works for you. Some people need to see everything to use everything. I have a combination of both. I like to be able to have quick access to items and see them, but because of my space, I need things to be put away. So by having those boxes that I can pull out, I can quickly access items. It's not all, I'm not pulling everything out to get an item in the back. I have everything in boxes, so I can access and see what I want to use. Because I don't have loads of stuff, I know what I have. And so I typically know where to find something. If you have way too much stuff, you'll spend more time trying to look for that item than using the item. And so if you're a person that it needs to be seen to be used, then you have to organize and have baskets and stuff out that you can see. If you need things put away, then get cupboards that you can put a drawer over. So again, making it the way that you like to work. My 4th tip is it doesn't have to be pretty to be a great space. I see lots and lots of videos, just like you do, of all these huge spaces, pretty spaces, everything's lined up in a rainbow. If I was to line up something in a rainbow, that's all I would have. I need something that will work. So my space isn't the pretty space that will be featured in a magazine, but it is a space that works. And so you have to decide, do you want a pretty space? Do you want a space that works? How much space do you have that you can do this? And so I craft almost daily, but I only have limited space. So I really concentrated on how to use my space best. Now, to get it to where it is now, I have been organizing since January. So it's not something you can do overnight. It's something maybe each week you work on, because I'd organize and then did what I do worked. And so I would use the space and then I would move things again because, you know, I wasn't using that product or this product. It wasn't working for me. So you have to think about, do you want a pretty space, a space that works for you? You know, don't be too concerned about, oh my gosh, somebody has a huge attic and it's so beautiful, or they made a whole room renovated for it. You don't need a whole room to craft. You just need a small space and something to store the products you have. And then my final tip, and the biggest one, is purge. Purge, purge, purge. We're constantly buying. There's always new stuff. And so go through your stamp sets. If you haven't used the stamp in a year, you're not going to use it in the future. There's going to be a new stamp coming out that you want to use. If you didn't use a die in a year, get rid of that die. However, on the flip side, I have stencils that I've had for 10 years. I've had stamps that I've had for 14 years. I do have favorites. So don't get rid, I'm not saying get rid of everything old, just get rid of things you don't use. And you have to be honest, you can't say, I spent $20 on this item, I have to keep it. Because that $20 item you're not using is going to constantly give you guilt and stare at you. Now, if you are afraid of purging, what I would suggest, purging takes 3 steps. There's the first step where you're like, yeah, all this can go. And it can go. The second step where you're like, oh, you know what, I don't really use this, or I haven't used that. So you pull those items out. Now, if you're afraid to get rid of them, put them in a box, put them in a bag, and sit them aside in a closet. If after a year or 6 months or whatever, you're like, you know what, I didn't miss any of that stuff, then let it go. I have a bag that I've been sort of going back to. I was looking for some paper I thought I had, so then I went to my purged bag, and then I found out I actually purged it like probably 3 years ago. So I'm not saying purge and get rid of everything right away, but do a purge, put it away, and then find out, did I miss that item? Do I want it back? And then you still have it if you're afraid to actually get rid of it. And then the third purge is when you're really like, you know what, I have to get serious now. I really don't use this item. I really like it, but I don't use it. So it's a process, and it's not a process everybody likes to do or can do. But if you can, at least go through and pull out stuff you know you're not going to use. And trust me, by doing that, I'm not saying get rid of your stuff, but by doing that, it's allowing you to use what you really love and what you have. And it also makes you realize for future buying that I got rid of all these sets because I don't use that type of stamp. So I shouldn't buy those stamps, even though they're super cute and I love them. And oh, look what so-and-so did with them. That's so great. I personally won't use it. So these are things you just have to think about when you're going through your stuff. And so hopefully between my tour and these little tips, you can make your own craft space that works for you. And so thank you for joining me, and we'll see you next time on Scrap Time. Thanks for watching. Be sure to give our video a thumbs up and subscribe to Scrap Time videos on YouTube. In the meantime, here are a couple other videos you might be interested in watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.